All of your time for coming out, and we appreciate you taking the time to come out and get involved tonight. My name is Alex Reynolds. I'm Congressman Moore's District Director. I realize you guys didn't come to hear me talk, but we'll turn it over to Congressman Moore here in a minute. But before we start, I want to do something that's very important to us as an office. I want to open us up in a word of prayer, and then we'll do the pledge, and then we'll get started. So y'all pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for just the beautiful weather that we've had. Thank you for our health and just ability to be here. Lord, we take that for granted sometimes, so we thank you and recognize your Lordship in our life. Lord, we thank you for the freedom to gather here. We pray that we don't take that for granted either, Lord. As we participate in government, the civic process, Lord, thank you for allowing us to live in the freest country on this planet, Lord. And we just ask that you speak through us tonight. Allow us to speak truth and boldly and in love and compassion, Lord. And we just ask all these things in your name. Amen. Please stand and we'll say the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated.
For all.
Hey guys, thank you. So,
For all.
I did want to mention a couple things before we get started here tonight. Like I said, I'm thankful that you guys came out to take time. I wanted to remind everybody that we have 3 offices here in Southwest Alabama. We have 5 district offices total for a congressman. That's a lot for a House of Representatives member. We have 9 counties and 5 offices. And so our office has won awards, the second of all the congressional offices in D.C. for being the most accessible. And so that part of that is those 3 offices that we have over here. We have one here in Foley, just right down the road. It's open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We have one in Bay Minette. That's open from Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 5. And then we have one in Mobile County down in Tillman's Corner. That's open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And so we have staff that staff those that go to events and to work on cases for you when you have a problem with a federal agency. Our staff there will get involved and help communicate with the federal agency and resolve that issue the best we can. You know, we've solved over 7,000 cases since Congressman Moore has been in office, and we've got $17 million back to constituents where the federal agencies, whether it's the VA or IRS or Social Security, those sort of agencies have had money held up. We've been able to clear that and get it released to the constituents. So really proud of that because it doesn't always make the news, but we're out there doing the work to try to help you guys. And that's really, nonpartisan. It doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter what you think. When you come in, we're there to help you. Part of that, accessibility too, is something else I want to mention that not every congressional office does. I know because I've talked to several of them. Is we send Congressman Moore a daily email. And so if you call our office and you're like, I want Congressman Moore to vote yes on this bill, or vote no on this bill, or want Congress to do this or that, we compile all that information in a logical and practical way. We write, who you are and where you're calling from, and we send that to Congressman Moore at the end of every day from all of our offices so that he knows what's on your mind and what you're concerned about in D.C. And so wanted to mention that too. So a couple of ground rules for tonight. Just want to explain how this will work. Just again, be respectful of everybody that's here and that has questions for the congressman. We have asked if you have a question for him, that those were written down on question cards. And we're not filtering those. We're drawing out of a bag at random. But what we're doing is so that, when people have questions, a lot of times it turns into speeches on the floor instead of just questions. And the intent is pure to try to answer as many questions and things that you guys are concerned about, and that's what we intend to do. And so, we ask everybody to remain respectful tonight, even if you disagree, that's fine. But Congressman Moore is the elected representative. He's here to answer your concerns and questions and to give you an update on what's going on in D.C. And so, being respectful through that process is definite. So, also wanted to briefly mention thank you to the city of Daphne, Mayor Lejeune and Troy and all these guys have just been great friends to our office, and thank you for hosting us at this after hours event, and I want to be respectful of them too. And so thank you guys. I want to turn the floor over over to you, Mayor.
Yeah, just real quick, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Congressman Moore, for choosing Daphne to have this town hall and our city hall. We're very appreciative of your time and what you're doing. Congressman Moore has been a very good friend of the city of Daphne, no matter what side of the aisle you stand on. As far as infrastructure, things that are going on in the city of Daphne, he's been a very good friend of ours. So thank you again for all that you do and being a friend, knowing that infrastructure is very important to us as we grow. And so thank you again. Thank you for choosing Daphne. And do want to introduce Congressman Moore. I want to thank his staff. His staff is always available, doesn't matter what side you're on. You can reach them, even though they don't have an office in Daphne, but you can reach them and have questions answered. And like I said, just again, thank you, Congressman Moore. Want to welcome him up and thank you for choosing Daphne tonight to have this town hall.
First, let me say thanks for being here, and it's an honor to serve in the congressional district, first congressional district. I've been in D.C. now for going on 5 years, and as Alex said, we're at 7,000 cases. We did a Veterans Roundtable here where we actually had veterans come to Daphne and work on trying to take care of those issues. So part of that $17 million we got back were actually for veterans who we owed the money to as a government, and so we were able to get those refunds for them. And same with IRS, we had some businesses that it really literally would do some money that the government was holding in D.C., and we were able to get that refunded back. And so y'all don't hesitate to use our offices. And like Alex said, we don't care who you voted for. That doesn't matter to us. Once we're your representative, we're here to serve you. And so I hire people with service hearts. The veteran here on the front row asked me, he said, I'm working with Shannon on a VA issue, and she's been very helpful. And he said, is she here tonight? I said, no, she's actually at the office working on issues. And so Shannon's husband's a veteran, so she understands what kind of frustration we experience with the government agencies, because very often in Washington, D.C., they don't really think they work for you. Oddly enough, you pay their salaries, and we've got a bureaucracy in D.C. that, don't get me started on the post office, but if the rest of the agencies, we've been able to kind of help on some things. So we're honored to do that, and I want you to know we're here to serve you. And so we were #2 in the nation for accessibility by all Republican congressional offices by Democracy Awards. We were #1 in the nation in workplace environments. So we foster an environment that allows our people to function and do the things that they need to do to serve you. And so with that, I just want to tell you a little bit about what's going on. We'll talk a little bit about the big, beautiful bill tonight and kind of let
you trash.
And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And let me say this, guys. It's going to be tough for everybody to hear if you're kind of talking back the whole time or saying something. So, and then we'll take questions, and so I'll try to address them specifically. But the big, beautiful bill, well, first we'll talk on this side. This is just by the numbers, some of the things we've done. At the #1 spot we were talking about in the workplace environment. But the other side talks about the big, beautiful bill, the tax breaks that small business and certainly individuals are going to experience in the state of Alabama, between $3,100 and $5,000 to your bottom line. And so part of that is no tax on tips. That was one of the things the president really wanted us to install, and so that's actually
You're right.
That's going to be retroactive. So you'll actually get taxed back. You won't be taxed on your tips or your overtime. So I guess you guys maybe have read the legislation. I don't know, but
Did you?
Please keep the outburst to a minimum, guys. He's trying to talk.
I mean, I'm here to serve you and to try to answer questions.
No, you're not.
As respectfully as I can, right? So, at any rate, so the bill, the big beautiful bill takes tax off the tips. That's something President Trump wanted to do. He actually bumped into a waitress, and so he held us to the wire on that, because a lot of us in D.C., we were like, well, sir, it's going to be hard to cut that deficit spending if we get the tax breaks. And so what we did, we had to figure out how to bridge that gap between cutting spending and putting downward pressure on the federal government. We're $37 trillion in debt. So what does that mean to you? So
Cutting Medicare?
$37 trillion is $37,000 billion. And so the interest on that debt is $105,000 a second that our kids and grandkids have got to figure out how to pay that back, because
they live.
the bureaucracy just exploded. And so during COVID, we spent a lot of money, well beyond what we would normally spend in a year. So we saw this just printing the money in D.C. to pay our bills. And Bill Freeman said it this way. He said, you really can't look at the tax rates as much as you can. Look at government spending in D.C. and then you'll know what's happening, because what happens is we may tax you at 30% or 20%, but if we're printing money, if we're just printing money, then that inflation that you all saw creep up, that 22% in 4 years, what happened was all
Golf trip.
Labor prices, everything got inflated because we were spending money, and so as we printed money, it just became, y'all experienced.
Then why are we
inflation.
raising the debt
We saw
ceiling?
everything go up, you know?
Eggs are still high.
Guys, please stop now.
That's probably not
If
good.
you look at food costs last month, we actually saw 0.2%. That's the lowest inflation we've seen in decades. Gas prices have been the lowest they've been in 5 years on Labor Day.
Are they under $2 like President Trump has said?
So we'll see, but I'm telling you what we're seeing with gas prices. I saw it at $2.48 a gallon, I think yesterday, and I thought, well, that's pretty good because it's coming down near a holiday. And so we're actually going to see the lowest prices. It won't be $5 a gallon like we saw, or $5.50 a gallon, that's for sure. And so, anyway, so we're going to see some things by putting downward pressure on spending. So the big beautiful bill cuts $1.5 trillion in spending over the next few years. The problem with that is we're $37 trillion in debt. If y'all look last month in July, we had a $26 billion surplus. That's the first time that's happened in 2 decades in this country. The United States actually had a $26 billion surplus. But the thing with $26 billion is you can say, well, you owe $37,000 billion, right? So $26 billion is a small dent. We got a long, long way to go, and we're starting to see with GDP, the economy is growing, and offshore investment, the trillion.
For billionaires.
One of our biggest concerns was Taiwan and the pressure they were under from China because they make so many of our chips that we use in our technology. And so when I went over to the Indo-Pacific, where we actually met with the commanders of the Pacific, we could see that we had a problem with chip manufacturing. We were really, really kind of in a spot because there was all of our chips, or a lot of our chips were being made in Taiwan. So with that trillions of dollars investment now coming to the U.S., that makes number one a national security issue because so much of our technology is ran on chips. If you don't think so, try to run your phone or your car or technology without chips right now. So that's part of that offshore investment. And if you go back to even looking at what we did with the auto industry. The auto industry, when I was state legislature, we brought Airbus to Alabama. We brought Austal to Alabama. Y'all heard of those two companies, surely down here. We brought Polaris to Alabama. We brought Remington and Kimber Firearms all to Alabama. So we opened up the state for business, and now President Trump's opening our nation for business.
Yeah, right.
Excuse me, how do you do this?
No, sir. Hey, sir, this is, no, sir. No,
We got a
sir.
question, so we'll take a question.
Let's do this,
No, sir.
let's
No,
make
sir.
light one.
Hey,
I
guys.
think that's good.
Answer questions.
So yeah, we're gonna take the question, but I want to kind of tell you about.
No, we don't, we already heard that.
We've heard that song and dance.
We've read it.
No, we don't.
We've read it.
How Medicaid got expanded, you want to know what
It didn't get expanded.
Y'all are gonna love this, I'm sure you're gonna love this, but we literally.
Answer questions.
And we had to say, okay, we've got 1.4 million people who are legally, but they're on Medicaid.
Yeah, right.
They can't qualify. They don't qualify for Medicaid.
So
There are
nobody's gonna
friends.
lose Medicaid, but
It's
we're-
not true.
That is not true. They do not qualify for Medicaid. That is a lie.
Immigrants.
So we were, and then we had two.
lying.
You're lying.
You're
lying.
You're flat out lying.
But here's the thing, we just put work requirements on Medicaid, and it's only 20 hours a week.
They already work.
If you're able,
They're already working.
Thou shall not bear false witness.
listen, there's not a single working Florida that lose Medicaid under this
On
bill, period.
Medicaid
Not a
are
single
working.
one. Or somebody-
The other percent are disabled.
And if you're disabled, you're gonna be able to draw work.
Thou shalt not bear false witness.
How do you not choke on those lies?
That's kind of what's in the big beautiful bill, I'm trying to tell you, but you're not listening. So-
We're not lying.
We have questions.
Answer our
We have questions.
Guys, please.
Answer questions.
There's people
Answer
here that want to hear
questions.
from their congressman, and it's very hard to speak while you guys are speaking.
Well, it's
So
hard
this
to
is
hear
what-
when it's live.
It's hard to hear through the bullshit.
The first question that we have is from Catherine Quinley from Fairhope. They want to know who pays the tariff. Is it consumers or true the exporting country?
So right now, what we just saw in a report is that we haven't seen inflation at all. If y'all saw the report.
That wasn't the question.
That wasn't the question.
If there was inflation.
Pays the tariff. Who pays the tariffs? Who pays the tariffs?
Yeah.
Pays the tariff.
Can I at least tell you about the tariffs, please?
No, tell us who pays it.
So,
then you tell the
there's a couple things you need to know about tariffs, but do y'all realize that after World War II, the Marshall Plan coming out of World War II said, okay, Germany and Japan, in order to help you rebuild, we're not gonna, you can sell your cars in America, but we're not gonna force U.S. autos to sell in foreign countries. And so that's why when you go to Berlin, Germany, you do not see a General Motors product.
Smooth calling.
When you go to Japan, you do not see in Tokyo, you don't see Fords, but you see Mercedes.
Yeah, World War II is very relevant right now.
It's been going on a long, long time.
But who pays
So
the
what-
tariff?
That wasn't the question, though.
So Trump asked Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, he said, why is that? She said, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked a question. And so we'll start seeing, as we just cut the taxes on all the new cars, the interest on the taxes, that you're going to get a tax credit on any new cars you buy, that helps the auto industry in Alabama.
So who pays those tariffs?
Who pays the tariff?
No, it looks like the shipping companies from the foreign nations are paying. But
No, they don't. Consumer does. Yes. Yes.
2% last month. So how can it possibly be that you're seeing inflation and it's 0.2%?
Is that
It was
new numbers
5%
from the
per
new
year
numbers?
prior.
Because he hasn't locked the tariffs in yet.
Anyway, so you're not paying anything on the tariffs, the shipping companies.
That's bullshit.
You're just not seeing it on your goods.
All right, we got the next question. Next question. All right, guys, next question. Madeline from Daphne wants to know, of all the administration's accomplishments, what has been the most meaningful for you?
Probably securing the border. I think I've been to the border 3 times.
Yeah.
For me to go down and see what was going on on the southern border where the cartel were charging $45,000 and people were coming from Mexico to come here. And the Triangle Nations further south, Nicaragua down that way, you saw people paying $7,000 to $8,000. Russians were paying $19,000 to the cartel to be smuggled across our border. Well, what we ran into on the border was if you didn't want to pay the cartel, then they cut a deal. And I've seen the backpacks where you become a drug dealer. You would literally take heroin, cocaine, or fentanyl in a backpack. And you would come across the border and your passage would be paid. That's why we saw 135,000 young people die of fentanyl poisoning.
That's not the man in my neighborhood. That's not the man in my
So
neighborhood.
what
Deported them
they
here.
did was the cartel, we were making
Cartel
cartel
is
rates
here
by
from Trump.
Biden did away with the remaining Mexico, and so rather than apply for asylum in Mexico, you came to the U.S.
Don't
Blame Biden.
Don't Biden.
We lost
Making a fool of yourself.
300,000 children, and we do not know where they're at in this country.
You don't know what you're talking
Give me that
marker, babe.
And we send them
It's a big fool
sponsors.
game.
And so we have one sponsor that got 20 children.
Answer the question.
All right. The next question is from Maria Parsons from Fairhope. And it says, if you care about fiscal responsibility and the $37 trillion in debt, will you raise the debt ceiling and not play roulette with the American economy?
So here's the thing, we may not have to raise the debt ceiling. President Trump don't.
You already have.
You have.
We raised it one time, but we're not.
Fiscal responsibility.
One time.
What we had to do, because, yeah, we were spending, I'll tell you, we were spending some money in the prior administration.
More
Prior
than any other president.
That's why we had to.
More than any other president in the first term.
I wasn't here in the first term, so.
Well, I don't care.
But I'm telling you now.
Talk to the
With the
hand.
GDP we're seeing and the offshore investment, the trillions of dollars that are coming to this country in offshore investment, we're thinking we might not have to raise that ceiling.
You might not have
Y'all, we had a surplus last month, 26 billion. That's the first time in 2 decades. So we may have raising the debt ceiling. That was terrible.
All right, the next question is from Bob. He wants to know if you think that we will gain seats in both houses.
Yeah.
Who's we?
Who's we?
The Democrats lost 2.1 million registered voters recently, and the Republicans gained 2.4 million. So that's a 5 million swing. And Trump won every swing state. So what we're seeing is people are coming to the
coming
Republican
back.
Party because of the CRT and the lockdowns and all these things that were being forced upon us.
And what is
including our
CRT
liberty.
exactly?
And so what they were doing was they were starting to literally, the left, I think, moved too far, and the people woke up.
Oh,
They just want to live our lives.
They don't want in our daughter's locker rooms. We don't want
Oh, bullshit. This is garbage.
There's a lot of people leaving the Democratic Party, coming to the Republican
That's
Party.
not true.
Oh,
That is a lie. They're coming back out of the Republican Party.
So you tell me, 2.1 million left the Democratic Party, 2.4 million came to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party.
Where, that's
All right,
your
so the
number.
next question is from Sid from Silver Hill. He wants to know your thoughts on Roe v. Wade and LGBT marriage.
Okay, so Roe v. Wade, putting that back to the states, I think is probably the right move.
And what will you
let
do?
people kind of vote themselves however they want for their own states. And I think that's.
How about for your own bodies? And what will you do about it if it comes back to Alabama?
I'm happy. I'm right here.
So
Abortion for rape and incest?
Casey,
Not in Alabama.
Casey wants to know about the big beautiful bill. It's a paragraph, so I'm trying to find the question. Let's see.
Read it.
Just read the whole thing. Read the whole thing.
Read the question. Read the whole thing.
Read it out loud.
Casey wants to know the big beautiful
I'll
bill
put a picture up there so you guys can take it.
stripped more working people off Medicaid after years of denying Medicaid expansion. How do you justify that when 64% of Alabama Medicaid recipients work a full or part-time job, especially after $1 billion luxury plans, $200 billion Walmart, and $20 billion to Israel?
Really trying to pull that.
Did you answer the abortion question?
So,
You're asking about the big
I
beautiful
tried,
bill,
I
what you
did
kind of
answer it, but they were all kind of different, so I thought the Supreme Court got it right. I think the Supreme Court got it right. I'm sorry.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Michelle from Alberta wants to know if you support Trump's agenda with military in the streets to
Absolutely, in Washington DC.
Shame! 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 These are American citizens. Shame! Shame!
Why is everyone so read the Constitution?
Stop using the military against its own people.
So anyway, so
Crime is down in D.C.
yeah, there's
The next question is from Susan from Fairhope. She wants to know how will you protect rural hospitals from closing?
So which y'all seem to like a lot. We put $9.4 million for all 54 rural hospitals in Alabama. So because these cities are struggling to keep their rural hospitals open, we knew a big beautiful bill would happen. No, all rural hospitals, there's 54 in Alabama that qualify.
They're closing.
$9.4 million.
But in
all rural
Thomasville
hospitals.
closed.
They're closing.
Each hospital will get $9.4 million.
Half a billion.
That might operate for a couple
They're paying over $1 million for National Guard.
From pocketing that money and actually keeping it open.
So, I didn't get your question, but let me say this. There's
How much does a
$9.4
golf game
million.
cost?
Million for every hospital. We put $50 billion in the big beautiful bill. Alabama will get $500 million of that to keep our hospitals open. Now, here's the other thing, guys. These hospitals are in areas where we need them because we have industry in those cities too, right? Like if you got a poultry processing plant, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of injuries. So if we lose a rural hospital, we lose the poultry plant. We lose the jobs at the hospital, we lose the jobs at the processing plants, but we also lose the community of just viability of having access to hospitals. I use rural hospitals, and so here's the long-term play though. That $9.4 million is going to be a Band-Aid, and so I proposed a long time to allow our veterans to use rural hospitals instead of having to drive. When I was in the state legislature, we had to fight every year to get the bands to get our veterans to their hospitals, to their VA appointments, and so I proposed a long time ago that why don't we just go ahead and let the veterans use their benefits instead of dealing with the VA and the red tape there. Why not let them drive to a local hospital?
Stop. You're trying to privatize military care. Do not do that to the VA.
So-
do not privatize the VA.
Here's
Veterans
the-
deserve specialized care that they have.
My brother retired Marine, my son-in-law's an Army Ranger, I get it, guys. But it would be optional if the veteran
No,
couldn't get
no,
to
no.
the VA, he would have an option option to go to a local hospital.
So we can put more pressure on the private care.
So the next question is.
How much for the Golden Ballroom?
All hospitals would love to have the revenue streams, and so we're trying to say for all hospitals. So that's a proposal. I don't know if we'll ever get it far ahead of the path.
Veterans deserve the specialized care they earn.
Veterans deserve specialized care, but I had a veteran who had PTSD, and the VA sent him to
So fund the VA. Stop gutting the VA with Doge. Stop cutting 80,000 jobs.
Yes.
The next question from Steve from Daphne says, to ensure fair elections, would you support voting districts to develop would you support voting districts be drawn, the district lines be drawn by nonpartisan independent boards?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But most of the time, the legislature in Alabama normally draws our districts. They draw the congressional districts, they draw the state senate, the state house districts.
That wasn't the question there.
Get the court to draw. They couldn't even draw it
I
correctly.
think in Illinois, they elect the Democrat Congress and let
He wouldn't support it.
So you wouldn't support it.
They
couldn't even draw the district themselves.
Democrats draw their seats in Alabama, and Republicans draw their.
That wasn't the question.
During the census.
Not midterm. They need to draw it with the legislature branch. I don't think it needs to be drawn by the courts. I don't think it needs to be drawn by some individuals.
Why?
Those people, they're your voice. Illinois doesn't.
You're not our.
So what's going to happen in Texas can happen everywhere? Where they're strategically doing this?
So the president can just call up and say, give me 5 seats.
So you get more seats,
From Johnston, from Robertson.
There we go.
It's hard to read the question if everybody's talking.
Wait a minute.
He's not answering them anyway.
You're not done answering the question.
Hey, Mr. Moore.
Right, it's okay if you don't agree with it, you could signify that at the back. All right, Johnston from Robertson.
No, wait a minute,
Why are we-
Mr. Moore didn't
Sir,
answer it.
Sir.
Come on, Mr. Moore.
Please sit down, sir. Please sit down. Please
Why
sit
don't
down.
you stop
Sir, please sit down.
selecting the votes?
Sir, please sit down,
Select
sir.
you.
Sir, please sit down, sir. Sir, please sit down. Thank you.
Answer it. I think the
Johnson.
legislatures need to.
You're not answering the question.
That's how the Declaration set up, that's how the Constitution set up, that's how states do it. And those are either Democrat states or Republican states. So.
It needs to change.
All right, so Johnson from Robertsdale wants to know, we are spending money deploying the National Guard in our state instead of using these funds for something that will benefit Alabama residents. Do you agree with deploying the
Hey,
National Guard?
reread that. That wasn't the question. Reread that.
I read it right off the sheet.
No, it says DC, not in DC. Did you?
Well, I think I already answered that, but I absolutely support President Trump cleaning up DC and putting soldiers on the ground out there to stop crime.
Shameful.
What about here?
We don't have the authority at the federal level because of the Constitution to do that in the state. So the governor has the right to call the guard if there's a.
So why is Trump doing it? You support it?
Rachel from Spanish Fort says that they're requesting assistance and oversight on an unjust military separation after 19 and a half years of service. We filled out a privacy release form with your office. Can you help and review our documents?
We'd be happy to review it, and if you fill out the privacy release form, part of those 7,000 cases after Barry fell, we don't count it until it's finished, so if somebody's filled that out with our office, I can assure we're working on that. So we get awards for the work we do, and we'll continue to do the work, so hopefully we can get that resolved.
All right, so Linda Miller from Foley wants to know if you stand behind the no exception abortion bans, even if somebody you know were raped.
I am 100% pro-life.
What?
Shameful. Shameful. Shame. Shame.
All right, so Cindy from Daphne wants to know who you are endorsing for your Alabama District 1 seat.
So I got my own race to run, so I'm not endorsing in that race because I've got to fill Coach Stubber's shoes. That's my job, and so I'm
you're
working
gonna
on that
lose.
race.
Boo. Trash.
All right,
Oh,
so
Release the files.
wants to know about the 210,000 children and veterans that lost Medicaid coverage under the big beautiful bill.
So there will be no dependent children kicked out of Medicaid unless they're here illegally, right? I mean, so if somebody.
Lies.
But there will be nobody with dependent children or working for that are gonna lose Medicaid.
Yes, they are.
Those fired people were hired back through the figured out
Jennifer
they
from
made a
Daphne
mistake.
says, over 1 million service members and families rely on absentee voting by mail through the federal voting assistance program. Since you backed bills limiting mail-in voting, will you commit to protecting our right to vote by mail?
So I think we have to make sure we have secure elections. And
We did. We did before Trump.
So when we saw what happened with COVID, those mail-in ballots and you had 81 million ballots.
They were fine.
That's what okay. Trump nailed in his vote.
Did you know? This is about military being able to vote.
Answer the question.
Support it.
You supported, you sponsored the SAVE Act, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
But I also
You
state
also, which
legislation-
requires people to register to vote in person. No, let her talk.
Here's the thing.
Excuse
listen,
me.
When you sit down, let me answer your question.
I would like
When
to
I was in the state legislature.
answer it about military
In
votes.
Alabama, we made sure, because we had deployed soldiers, that they have a window there. We gave them an exception for deployed military to vote, to turn their ballots out and back in. But we-
100 million
but every
service members
citizen-
are stationed in other, deployed or in other places around the country where they can't vote in their home of record. I had to vote via mail, absentee, for 15 years.
It works fine. And I still think absentee.
And you
but
need
have to
mail-in
request-
voting to do
But
that.
you have to request the absentee ballot. You just can't go drop them off and pick up a bunch of ballots somewhere and drop them off.
Don't minimize the question.
Alright, so the next question is from J.R. that I would love to read. It says, what bipartisan legislation are you working on that directly supports infrastructure and broadband access to rural health care?
So we've been kind of a lead on bipartisan on grants, like the two things, because I'm pretty conservative, but I believe that you already have to do infrastructure and defense. And so anytime there's congressional designated spending for those, we're proactive. I mean, your mayor said it too, but bipartisan wise, Joe Biden signed one of my bills into law. I think I'm the only member from the Alabama delegation that's got a bill signed into law in 5 years. That Joe Biden signed for our veterans, you know, and that was a Golden Star Act. But so we've been able to do some bipartisan stuff, but certainly on infrastructure and defense, those are areas I think are fantastic.
It wasn't defense. It was broadband. Broadband. Not.
Infrastructure is part of that. I have a lot.
But the question wasn't about defense, though. It was rural.
Well, and I'm a big fan of rural broadband. Look, we saw.
What are you doing about it?
We're helping fund it. We've got programs going in Alabama right now to install broadband. Because the one thing we learned from COVID was that all of a sudden these kids were trying to work out in middle of nowhere, Alabama, and do their schoolwork, and they have to go find somewhere, either a library or whatever. And so we made it a point to invest, and that's coming a lot of money through the states, guys. But we're pushing out broadband because I serve on that committee. That's in our wheelhouse, and we're pushing out broadband in rural areas in Alabama. And so that's part of the infrastructure, though. Man, because you got roads, you got broadband, you got utilities, you got sewer, you got all those things that you need to build communities. So we're a big proponent of those programs. We continue to do that.
That's one.
Alright, so Jan from Foley wants to know if you support the Smithsonian teaching history or feel they should only tell feel-good stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I certainly support teaching history. I think that anytime we try to erase history, I think that's a bad thing.
Exactly.
So fight for it.
We absolutely have to teach history, no doubt about it.
What are you doing about it?
Prager University. Not Prager.
If you believe in
Lady
separation
whistle,
of
man.
powers, if so, why does Trump sign so many executive orders?
Separation of powers, yeah, I believe in that. So,
Why is the Congress doing the job?
here's the thing.
Congress should do their
The
job.
executive branch can do as many executive orders as they want, every prior administration's done them. So what we do in Congress
Not like
is we have to
this.
codify those and we have to pass them into law because what happens if we don't, like Trump did 350 executive orders.
Ridiculous.
And so we'll have to codify as many as we can. But
You don't?
in the next administration, they'll be doing executive orders too, right? So
You serve in a co-equal branch of government.
Your rubber stamp.
All right, the next question is from LaRon Harrison. It says, what money from the infrastructure bill did the congressman attempt to get for the airport, the I-10 bridge, the Mardi Gras train, or the Mardi Gras train, the Amtrak? What is he trying to do to financially support these projects?
So really, primarily, the bridge is one of the things we've been focused on. And so Trump went ahead and made good $550 million a few weeks ago. If you go by now, you can see the crane set up and they're starting to install the columns. And that's been a long, long process of getting that. The environmental restrictions on that has held it up. We've been trying to get it done. And while we're with inflation, all the money that we printed in 4 years there at 2020.
What is it with you and lying?
We saw a ton of asphalt.
Tariffs.
$90 a ton, $140 a ton. We saw concrete go up. So still.
Tariffs.
Since Trump got elected.
Biden got the bridge.
I thought you said inflation is down.
We got $550 million that he's invested, and we've ensured, and we told the president this is the shovel in the job.
Biden did it.
Biden did it.
Alex, go ahead.
The bridge is, they're saying it's gonna be $3 billion now, I think is the last number I saw, but y'all, we sent $176 billion to Ukraine, and we don't spend.
Let's free Palestine next.
So we sent $176 billion.
No, you did not.
We don't spend
But
Those weapons were produced in the United States.
Giant tax cuts.
Jobs in the United States
All
to
right,
produce
so the
those
next
weapons.
question is from J.R. Quinley from Fairhope. Wants to know, what is more important, corporations or people?
Prove it.
All right. So the next question is from Jeff from Foley. It says, why let Trump legislate taxes on the people?
Instead of
That's what
Congress.
that means.
Well, the big beautiful bill was actually the Trump tax cuts, right?
Bullshit. Bullshit.
We won't do that. What about regular?
Trickle down. Doesn't work.
You get a tax credit on your Social Security.
Doesn't work.
What about the rest of us? Yeah, what about the rest of us?
That's
That big.
All right, with Steve from Fairhope says, with Alabama's maternal mortality rate the highest in the nation, how do you intend to support and fund rural health care, rural hospitals?
So we talked about the $9.4 million we're giving to every rural hospital, so I think I pretty much.
Medicaid coming in, that won't help.
You support the baby in the womb, but not the baby.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party
Well-
voted every single one of them not to save a baby born alive from an abortion.
It's not a thing. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Literally abolished abortion, and every single Democrat voted against the Born Alive bill on the floor of Congress.
There is no
So, Teresa from Robertsdale, this is the last question. This is the last question. Teresa from Robertsdale says, why if a person has complied with the law as required for the past 6 years with no criminal record, has driver's license and pays $5,800 to renew the visa, 4 days later get a letter for deportation?
So that's probably. So then he said this is the last one. So let me explain what I think is going on with immigration. So you guys, I'm trying to take what we see and what we saw. Right?
No, just answer her question. Look at her picture. She has something.
So some folks are literally getting
Look at this picture.
caught in the web, right? Because the border was so open during the prior.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not.
That's a lie. You're eating lies.
Were coming across in Texas when I was there, and so the border was so open. Yes, and so there are those cases now where they're trying to clean up, and I think we're going to have to look
Clean up? Clean up? We want it here. We don't want it here. We want it here.
And why do I have that cover?
And why?
Yes. Yeah, why do they cover their face?
Hard workers.
You
have taxes brought in.
Why are people not getting due process?
So-
Why are any criminals getting due process?
So the process for a citizen and a non-citizen are different.
No, it's not. Garbage. You are wrong. 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 Shame. 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 Shame on you. Shameful. Chicken shit. Chicken shit.
Che football, che football.